You're not becoming a better person by deleting Instagram and waking up at 5 a.m. You're just running away from the parts of yourself you don't want to fix. The monk mode trend has convinced an entire generation that isolation equals growth, when really, you're just practicing how to hide from discomfort with a productivity aesthetic. The symptoms are everywhere, and you're probably exhibiting them right now without realizing it. You've turned your life into a performance of self-improvement, tracking every habit, optimizing every hour, posting your no distractions setup on Reddit for validation. You call it focus, but you're actually building a fortress against anything that might challenge your carefully constructed identity. The more rigid your routine becomes, the more fragile you are underneath it. You've convinced yourself that cutting people out is protecting your energy, but you're really just avoiding the emotional labor of maintaining relationships. Every friendship that faded during your monk mode wasn't a distraction you eliminated. It was a connection you were too weak to nurture while also working on yourself. You're not prioritizing growth. You're choosing the easier path where nobody can see you struggle, fail, or be anything less than your curated self-improvement persona. The psychological mechanism behind this is brutally simple. Avoidance feels like progress when you dress it up in the right language. Your brain doesn't distinguish between "I'm removing distractions" and "I'm removing anything that makes me uncomfortable." Monk mode gives you permission to quit the hard parts of being human, navigating conflict, tolerating ambiguity, sitting with boredom without a productivity metric attached. You've gamified self-improvement to the point where the game itself becomes the avoidance mechanism. The dopamine hit from checking off your morning routine is replacing the actual difficult work of changing your character. You're optimizing your environment instead of confronting your patterns, because rearranging your desk is easier than rearranging your psychology. The structure feels like discipline, but it's actually a sophisticated form of procrastination. You're so busy being in monk mode that you never have to face what you're actually afraid of. Here's the dark truth nobody wants to say out loud. You're using self-improvement as a socially acceptable way to avoid living. Monk mode has become a permission slip to opt out of the messy, uncomfortable, unpredictable parts of existence, while still feeling superior about it. You're not transcending your problems through discipline. You're just making sure they can't reach you behind your wall of optimized routines and eliminated distractions. The reason you need such extreme measures to focus isn't because the world is too chaotic. It's because you never developed the internal resilience to function within it. You've mistaken control for growth and isolation for clarity. The version of yourself you're building in monk mode is impressive on paper, but completely untested in reality. You're like someone who trains for a marathon by only running on a treadmill in a climate-controlled room, technically improving, but fundamentally unprepared for the actual terrain. So what's the countermove? First, deliberately do something uncomfortable that your routine doesn't account for. Say yes to an unplanned social event, have a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or work on your goals in a chaotic environment instead of your perfect setup. The point isn't to abandon structure. It's to prove to yourself that you can function without it being perfect. Second, reconnect with one person you cut off during your optimization phase, not because they're useful to your goals, but specifically because they're not. Relationships that don't serve your productivity are exactly the ones that reveal whether you're actually growing or just performing growth. Real discipline isn't about controlling every variable in your environment until you can finally function. It's about developing the internal strength to pursue what matters even when conditions aren't optimal, even when people are demanding your attention, even when you're tired and distracted, and very much still human. Monk mode promised you transformation, but all it's really doing is teaching you how to function in an artificial bubble that doesn't exist in the real world. Stop optimizing your way out of life. The mess you're avoiding isn't the obstacle to your growth. It's the actual arena where growth happens. Your carefully constructed routine isn't protecting your potential. It's protecting you from discovering whether that potential can survive contact with reality.